Well, hello everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of my vlog. It's Friday, April the 3rd, 2020. Philadelphia, PA, Milky Way galaxy, local system, planet Earth. And yeah, I was doing this little video blog for the duration of the coronavirus pandemic, quarantine, or whatever you want to call it. Been working on my artwork a lot this week. I've been doing these every Friday, these little vlogs. I've been working on my artwork a lot this week. This is panel number 31 of a project I've been working on for the past 20 or 21 years. So all these panels connect to one another, and I had planned to do it for my whole life long, and then eventually, near the end of my life, was going to make a final panel connect to the first one to make a big cycloramic image that would be hundreds and hundreds of feet long, whatever it was. Now, this one I've been working on recently, panel 31, I've been experimenting with a new kind of pattern that I never really attempted before. And I'll show that off to you a little bit. I have just started filling in some of the little, inner pieces of it there, you can see. Yeah, some shading like that. Here's where it connects to the previous panel. Of course there's some somewhat topical stuff in it, with the isolation zones and the coronavirus stuff and everything, but I like to not get too literal in order to make it possibly still, pertinent for people dozens or thousands of years from now, should they exist and see it. But I thought it might be nice to do a little art lesson, sort of, and show people how to make artwork, how to do fill-ins and how to do, different sorts of patterns and things. But the funny thing is that I really don't know myself how art happens or how it really works. I could do a Bob Ross sort of thing and show you, well, here's where we put a circle, but you can choose it yourself. A lot of it is like, I used to work on these fishing boats in Alaska, and there was a Yupik Eskimo guy who was adept at wood carving, at whittling or whatever they call it. He would carve little animal figures and stuff. We had a 10-minute break every 4 hours, as is dictated by U.S. law, because we were in U.S. waters in the Bering Sea. Sometimes we might go into Russian waters, St. Paul. We offloaded one time and stuff, but anyways, all that to say, on these 10-minute breaks, he would carve these little, a seal or a little something, out of a little piece of wood. And I asked him one time how he did it, and he said, well, because I never understood three-dimensional work. I can't do sculpture or anything like that. And I asked him how he did it, and he said, well, the first step is I think of what it is that I want to do. So let's say I want to make a seal. I think about a seal, and he says, then I look at my piece of wood, and I get my blade and I carve a seal out of the piece of wood, Or if I want to make An elephant, I think of an elephant and I carve an elephant. That's about as good of an art lesson as anybody could give you, I think, and people get into all this stuff about, critique parties where you're supposed to gather a bunch of people and have them tell you all the reasons that your artwork is garbage and everything else, and your artwork may not even be bad. I mean, who's to even say? It's all kind of a lot of nonsense, and so I would say, with my stuff, I just sort of play to my strengths. I mean, there's a lot of things I can't do, but I just do the things I can do, and with a lot of practice, because I've been doing it since I was a kid. Since I was a little kid, I just always liked to do it, so I got practice in doing it like that. But I never had a formal lesson with any of that stuff. I was only ever, in fact, discouraged. I mean, the only art classes I had were in high school, and I was at loggerheads with my instructor or whatever. But in elementary school, I had a pretty good art teacher, actually, but I never liked any of the instructions. Like, she always wanted us to make things out of macaroni for some reason, like that art that they try to make kids make out of pasta, or they always want to make you use like unusual materials or some kind of like glue straw to a piece of styrofoam, and that's supposed to make it exciting for children, because children are supposed to be easily bored or something. And so if you give them straw and glass fault and have them glue it to a piece of cellophane, that's supposed to be like more entertaining or something. I never understood it and I didn't like it, but I just like to draw, and I've stuck with that. I did have some forays into oil painting and stuff. This was actually one from 2000, so this is a nice 20-year-old painting of the nurses. Very poignant to now. I've been reading a little bit, about that sort of thing. Of course, I got this, and first responders, yeah, so that's my art progress for this week. I'm feeling pretty good about it. And I think next I'm going to show off some a lot of people in this time, they've been saying they've been going through old papers and old, things that they have squirreled away, and they thought they'd never dig them out and look at them again. And then they did. And of course, being a musician and everything, I've got a lot of old flyers and I've got a lot of old things like that. But I thought that I would just dig into some old boxes and see what I have, and not get so much into music flyers and everything, because I think the music stuff, I can tell anecdotes about musical performances that are universally applicable to the human condition. In other words, you've got certain types of people and situations that unfold that I think, regardless of one's taste in music or one's place in the social strata, they'd be entertaining. Some of those stories, I'm trying to keep my vlog at worst hard R rated, usually PG. And some of the stories of the shows, I had an idea to tell the stories of the worst, or at least most tumultuous or dramatic musical performances, or related incidents. But some of those would even be probably almost X-rated, if not really, really hard R. There's shootings involved, stuff that I may get into it in a future vlog. I don't know if I'm in the mood this week for that. So let me dig out some things from old crates, some stuff from old boxes that I have, from the mid-90s, early 2000s. Anything more recent than that may seem not old enough to be interesting. Of course, I'm only middle-aged. Were I to be, 73 years old or something, I'd probably have more interesting stuff historically, but I can go back to the mid-90s and dig some things out, something like that. And so I'm going to do that. All right. Okay, so I have here, I've been going through this gigantic trunk. You can see how big this is, and this is papers and zines and letters and just sundry God knows what from I would say probably 1995 through 1999. I don't have too much in here after 1999, because most post-1999 things I put in some other boxes. So you can see various random papers from desk, you know, and it's just, God knows what is in any of these, you know, I mean, it's just poetry and just who knows what. So anyways, I was going to try to go through here and specifically find a series of correspondence that I had with a guy named Bill Copeland. Here's some kind of acetate I made for my zine. This must have been 1997 or so. Decades of Confusion, Feed the Insect. Nothing else like it in the zine world. Send for a copy and see. $1 to 3105 Hamilton Street, Philly, PA 19104. So, you know, I mean, these are just... this is some kind of one-off zine I must have done. It's January 1999. Dead copy from the creators of Decades of Confusion, Feed the Insect. 50 cents. You know, and I probably made like 2 copies of this or something, and it's just kind of like stream of consciousness stuff written with markers and, you know, who knows. So, I mean, it's just never-ending stuff like this, and it's all kinds of zines, and, you know, it's old flyers and, you know, it's old shows and some Tony B. Tile stuff, but I had this series of correspondence with a guy named Bill Copeland when I lived at 224 Camac Street back in the 90s. And Bill Copeland was a fascinating person to correspond with. I found his contact in some sort of zine that had reviews of zines and stuff, and I'd always be looking for something that was different. You know, something that didn't just seem like what you would think of as most of the typical sort of zines that, you know, I have these collections of old zines, and, you know, they're all interesting. They're kind of DIY, or some of them are a little more glossy or something, but they're basically, you know, they'd be about music or people's, like, some of them are personal things. They usually have little reviews and stuff, and I would send in my zine for review and stuff like that. But, you know, like, the review of Bill Copeland's zine, which really wasn't a zine, so to speak, it was really just like a collection of photocopied letters. By the way, a Cordette by Excelsior I dug out, which is a fan-powered one of these guys, you know. So if you hear a little fan going in the background, that's what that sound is. You know, the Auto Free Times. This one is about, you know, well, you know, you see British activists reclaim the streets and stuff like that. My Car Free Life. You know, it's just all kinds of stuff. But this one's like a vegan sort of zine, a vegan theme and different themes. You know, here's like a little bit more slick. Anarchist. I believe this was an anarchist zine. You know, I don't even remember a lot of these things. I just filed them away. But anyways, Bill Copeland's one, the review of it or whatever, so my old poetry and stuff, the review of it just seems so fascinating to me, because it was, the reviewer said something like, you know, it doesn't make any sense to me, and you know, what is this guy all about, and everything else, and I can't make heads or tails of it. And this is from Abby. This is poignant. Anyways, you know, some of my kind of like weird collage stuff. I don't know what I was thinking with any of this stuff, but you know, these little cartoons, The Adventures of Cockamamie Rooster, and nothing happens to him except he gets his head cut off. It's like the whole comic. Anyway, I'm gonna find the Bill Copeland letters. He eventually sent me all my letters back to me, but the correspondence is pretty fascinating. I'm trying to dig those out of this gigantic mess of a pile, and so I'll be back to you in a minute. Okay. There's an old issue of my zine that I found, Decades of Confusion, Feed the Insect, number 3, October 1995. Some, I would do my artwork, and then poetry, some kind of goofy stuff, whatever. So, yeah. Here's Bill Copeland. He sent me all my correspondence back to me, because he got upset with me or something about something I couldn't understand. And then his friend Sue, she was like a Bill Copeland devotee, and she wrote me a great letter. So I'll get into this in a minute. I just wanted to show you the box and everything that I had dug all this stuff out of. Okay, back in a minute. Oh, real quick before I do that, I wanted to talk about or draw attention to this really great review of the Herbert Crowley book, The Temple of Silence, that came out really in stores and stuff last year. Of course, now there's no stores, but you can still get it on the internet. And I really encourage people not to order off Amazon. You can get it directly from the publisher, Beehive, if you want a copy of it. But anyway, this really great review came out, or this little write-up about it on Believer magazine. It's believermag.com, by Sarah Rose Sharp. And I encourage everybody to look that up and read it. It's here you can see believermag.com there. And anyways, among other things, she says in here, initially Crowley's work and rejection of an audience filled me with fascination about and nostalgia for a time when one's inner life was kept more to oneself. They are evidence of the richness that is lost when every occurrence is given an immediate audience. The worlds Crowley cultivated are fiercely private in their realization, articulated so completely that they communicate meaning without needing to make much sense to the viewer. I am reminded that, as artists and writers, we are never alone, but always in the presence of the ongoing conversation we are having with ourselves. Crowley merely did what any of us is free to do by deleting our profiles. He dismantled the fame engine that asks an artist to trade solitude for sustenance. Crowley seemed always to prioritize the relationship between himself, his art, and the community that sustained his practice, rather than between his art and an audience. There is a palpable tension around his efforts to bring his art to market and the compromise that act entailed, especially when those compromises contradicted his belief that art has the ability to communicate a cosmic truth. In the end, by attempting to erase himself from the cultural record, Crowley proved that his highest allegiance was not to his work's success, but to the temple of silence in which he could pursue the work in peace. That review left a big impression on me as far as do we have to put everything that we do on the internet and stuff like that, and everything's commodified. Now everybody's meeting on Zoom. It's like human interaction brought to you by Zoom. And everything with the expectation of an audience, it warps the way that you do it and stuff like that. And so, of course, I work on my own artwork and everything like that, and I do put things up on the internet. But, it was some food for thought, and it was a really great little write-up about the Crowley book and everything. And so, let's go. Well, by this time, you can see I've got quite a bunch of papers pulled out here. Piles and piles and piles and piles, searching for the Bill Copeland correspondence. But what I've done is open this box of worms of like old comics, my Alaska fishing boat crew member handbook, and see American Seafood's Pride of the Sea, Pacific Navigator and Scout were the boats I worked on, which were small, 90 people with one bathroom on the one boat that I worked on. But see, she says, you're going to die out there. That was a friend of mine who said that. She was a smoker. She's smoking her cigarette there. So it's just never ending, and I've been going through these for like a couple hours now. And just finding all this old fascinating... It's not like people back then wrote letters all the time or anything, but if you did a zine, I mean, people would send you letters, and I have all this cool old correspondence from, like, here's one I found Tacoma Street from coming from Japan, and this is postmarked. Hard to see. It looks like 98, and I haven't even opened it yet. But yeah, something for my zine. Oh, it's a mail art project. People do these mail art projects. I was long time part of this mail art project from Japan, Fractal, and this guy you'd send him some art, and then he would print it on a page like this and make them all into kind of like rubber stamps and stuff. And it turns out not too long ago I was in touch with this guy up in New York, Bill Wilson, who his mother was, this is my artwork by the way in there, see there's my little detail, the pigeon. His mother was a New York artist that was part of the William S. Burroughs circle that did the cut up poetry and stuff, and he had also gone through the same abandoned house up in Rockland County up in the woods that I had gone through back in 1963 and found some of the Mary Mowbray Clark papers, and he sent me some books that had belonged to Herbert Crowley through the mail, and he passed away in 2015 before the Herbert Crowley book came out. But an interesting thing about him was that he was close friends with an artist named Ray Johnson. There's a documentary about him called How to Draw a Bunny. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. It's a great documentary, How to Draw a Bunny. But he was close with Ray Johnson, and I was visiting his Bill Wilson's family after he had passed away to go through some more Mary Mowbray Clark papers that he had, and one of his kids said, "Oh, he's archiving all the Ray Johnson stuff that Bill had, and some of these Fractal ones, apparently Ray Johnson also was a contributor to Fractal. Now I don't know, I haven't come across any. I think Ray Johnson's time contributing to this was before mine, so I didn't find any that had me and Ray Johnson together on them, but just a really cool small world kind of thing. And this guy Ryasuke Cohen, he still does this Fractal. Actually, you can get these through the mail. And oh, this is really funny. I found my employee evaluation and contract for 1998 from when I worked in the fishing boats. And it says, this is my how I did or whatever, and it says, reports to work on time, 4 out of 5. Performs his/her job to required standards, 4 out of 5. Work throughout offload, 5. Cleans up work area when shift is complete, 4. Personal hygiene, 1. How do you have bad personal hygiene on the fish? I mean, how does anybody not have terrible personal hygiene on those boats? It's hilarious. I just thought that was funny. I came across, glad I squirreled that away. But the Bill Copeland correspondence, I think I might have filed some of this away in another box, in one of my other boxes, but I did realize I really need to organize this this trunk full of stuff, because it's all a mismatch, and I have correspondence, I have letters and whatever in all different places, you know what I mean? It's scattered just God knows what, you know what I mean? And so I should go through this and just organize everything, but I've already spent hours digging through stuff, and I don't feel like spending more hours digging through stuff when I should be doing my vlog. So I just want to do some of the Bill Copeland correspondence real quick. So here's Bill Copeland from postmark 99, and he would send me these things in the mail. He sort of did this mail art sort of stuff. Like here's one of his, he'd get a little bit creative. If postage goes up again next week, all set. But kind of his vibe was like, I'll just show you some exemplary letters. I mean, I haven't found all of his letters in here, but here he goes, right? So this is kind of his handwriting and stuff, and kind of the way he was. So he says, March 3rd, 2K1, full moon is crying, so I am not going to cry in my beer. Buddha held that avatars could be taught, but there is not one example. Little smiley face. Now, I do not have a little faith we could see if Justin 2K1H is Buddha's example, but you sure waited long enough to make a good man look right. Smile. Said differently, Abraham did not go to kill his son knowing he would not. Smile. Justin's first great joke, we play tit-tat-toe, screw the lines, XOXOXO, we win. Smile. There was violence at the bar last night, so I should not go to reward for good behavior. But to give you some idea, first evidence, I had the monkey on my back since I was 4 years old. First evidence for Sue was she was killing water moccasins when she was 9 years old to destroy evil. Smile. But tell me, Justin, how can you know that I do not know? I cannot understand how you know this, so that it certainly proves that I don't know everything, but if I did, I would certainly know I don't know, which I don't. I am sorry. I let you down so miserably when I thought I should look up to you as Buddha's belated evidence, son. I will try harder next time if God helps me. Smile. And I very much appreciate your concern. You are depriving me from talking to the cunties, but as I explained to you, I would have been drinking, so I think you worry too much about other people or don't drink enough Coors. But I don't know if your father would say you are legal enough to drink, but remember, the master drinks, if you forget, but Jesus said drink wine as his blood, so I am saying drink my piss? Well, why not? Literally. Smile. He's talking about, oh, he's got his blade here with the Zulu battle female. The universe is funny. The less I teach you, the more you will learn, and faster also. Smile. I say I have been thinking 20 years since 16, but actually I have been thinking 52 years since 4. My mother would say that if everyone did that, so analyze, I think, smirk, what would happen if everyone in the universe read and did those sheet and slip? It's 1 trillion miles to heaven, so best you fly naked and take your ease. Who knows? Shit may happen. Smile. Orthodox religion, read Bible cover to cover 100 times. I told landlady 80 and landlord 85 latest news, and I think landlord started inhaled sharply and said the same as, oh my. The greatest intellectual to ever live says Santa Claus exists. You can count on it. So this is a little bit of Bill Copeland's, sort of his, the vibe of his correspondence. And sometimes he would send these really, really long ones, like this one. You can just see how thick the paper is there and everything. And he would have little diagrams and everything else like that. So I found that all fascinating and found him to be a great correspondent and a loyal correspondent too, because a lot of people in the world of zines and stuff, they would keep in touch for a little while and then drop off the correspondence. But Bill was quite reliable. Now eventually I fell foul of him one way or the other. I did something to offend his let's get a light on here, it's getting a little dark. I did something to offend his spirituality or his beliefs or something. I'm not sure what it was. I unplugged that to plug in Cordette. But he sent me back all of my correspondence, which hurt my feelings at the time, but now when I look back on it, he sent it back. I don't know if you can see the postmark date. It's November 22nd, 99. But looking back on it, I'm sort of glad he did it, because now I also have my side of the correspondence. So you can see I used to send him these little mail art sort of, envelopes and stuff, which I think really are pretty cool, and I'm glad I have them. Of course, he could have kept them, but this was when I was starting to get into researching the Toynbee tile stuff, so sometimes I'd send him Toynbee tile theme one to see what he'd think about that. So yeah, these are my Bill Copeland, mail art sort of ones. And I don't know what I'll have to go through my side of the correspondence too, but I don't know what I had said that offended him so much or anything. I mean, I never really said anything forceful or mean to him or anything like that. I was just kind of interested in finding out what his what his thoughts were, and I liked reading his. Sometimes he'd come up with these really clever little turns of phrase and stuff that would really stick in my craw. But I eventually got this letter from his friend Sue. So sometimes he'd mention Sue. As Sue says this, that, and the other thing. So Sue writes to me. I guess I wrote her a letter. I think Bill gave me her address, but this is February 21st, 1999. And Sue finally writes to me, the mysterious Sue, And she says, Justin, for me there is the most movement when I stop. Your letter and drawings and explanation of spirit I am still absorbing. Now, I don't know what I wrote to her. I don't have my letter to her, but so I don't know what my explanation of spirit was, but I guess I sent her letters and drawings. My words drive Christian scientists to the gnashing of teeth. Your words meeting theirs would be antimatter colliding with matter. If your words penetrated their word world, it would self-implode their world of death, rigidity, stiffness to it, native nothingness. But their tomb so massive, so many walls upon walls, that I could penetrate only by infiltration, by being one of them, seemingly. And then confusion followed confusion, as I was at first a gnat to swat, a wart to heal, until some of them seemingly thought I was a cancer and plague threatening their very existence. The sense of battle, life meeting death, nearly crushed me, my spirit. I would think of myself as those joke candles you think you have blown out. A moment later, they pop on again. 130-year-old journal, blah, 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 blah. It's long, but what does she say? At some point she talks about Bill Copeland in a kind of interesting way. Forgive me for not writing back sooner. Your letter was almost like a stun gun. I am smiling. Here I have been driven crazier and crazier by dead, lifeless language. And then a mountain of alive language fell into my lap. I am going to tell Bill I'm going for the new gold. Haha. Maybe I'll go for some movement there. His letters to prison females sometimes seem to repeat themselves. That's a whole other thing I'll get into with Bill Copeland, but it would take too long. She describes him a little bit. At some point in here, she says he's a wall of spirit bigger than a mountain or something like that. So that gave me a little bit more insight, but I never found out, who really was Bill Copeland and stuff like that. And he eventually, like I say, he sent me back all of my my correspondence and everything, and that was the end of the Bill Copeland story. But some of his little turns of phrase and things always stuck in my head. It was a whole world unto itself. And I feel like if I find the rest of the Bill Copeland letters, that could be its own little great zine or something like that. I have them, I think, in another box. But I always wonder what happened to him and kind of what his story was. But it's one of those things I probably really will never know, because this is getting to be a long time ago now. But so this is Trunk Full of Stuff. Now I've got to put everything back in Trunk Full of Stuff. But we should, before we're done here, check in on the animals and get a quick COVID-19 gardening lesson. Indoor gardening lesson from Mandy.
I've been trying to start some stuff in here, and also make up for some disasters of not being at work because of COVID-19. Here's some cabbages coming up. As you can see, I should rotate the flat around because they want more light. And there's all kinds of stuff around. But anyway,
so
here's the
another
seeds
kind of indoor
stuff.
gardening.
Now we're
These
going
are
to go
some
downstairs.
Okay.
This one is plumeria. I started it from a cutting that this wonderful gardener Alana gave me. This is my buddy pomegranate. It's a dwarf pomegranate, and I bought it when I used to live next door to a Cambodian grocery store, and the people were so nice, and they had this little pomegranate tree, and every year it makes little pomegranates on it. I really like this purple shamrock. It's coming back. It really had a rough time recently. And then over there, that African violet that my mother gave me. And this little wee guy is just, there's another one somewhere else in the house. But my friend Charlie Broken sent me a pad of a cactus when he moved to the desert in LA, and he sent me the pad years ago in the mail, and I put it in there, and I have a few little babies. The other one is looking much better than this. There's not a lot of light in this window.
Well, the sun's going down, so everything's real backlit. You know?
So here's another little project I've had going, which is these really adorable willow. Oh, this one is willow. So this is a pussy willow. And as you can see, I just cut it kind of short like this, and I put it in these jars of water. And there's also cuttings from an elder bush that was in the same area I was walking. Let's see if the elder has gotten any roots on it. No. It should, because I'll tell you one thing about the water that the elder's sitting in. It secretes like a rooting hormone into the water. Willows really are full of rooting hormones. But one thing that's exciting is this, because this is actually, I took a little cutting off the cherry blossom tree, and that rooted.
Yeah. It's rooting!
That is really cool. So I'm going to pot all these up and have a lot of my kind of babies from this COVID-19 experience. And that one did not get roots on it yet, but we can still hope. I should put it in soil, actually, because I know elder does better if you put it in soil. Nice roots.
Yeah.
So those are some fun I'm having.
That's cool.
Over here, this is like another kind of gardening. It's a bread that's rising, and I wanted to show off this beautiful, I'll call it a challah cover. My sister embroidered it, and she told me it was a dish rag, but I would never use something so beautiful to clean up spills. So then I'll show you the garden outside.
Also, where Time Cube lives, since we like to check on the animals every week. There he is.
So I'd like to introduce you to some of my buddies out here. This is onions. And these guys are all going to be planted at Bartram's when I go back to work there. And some of them will be planted in the community garden down the street. These are different kinds of lettuce. They're going to be really delicious. And here's beets. Getting ready. And then, wow, where to start? So I guess what I'll tell you about is some of the perennial herbs that are coming up in the pots out here that are medicinal herbs that could come in handy to...
Come on, little smoosh-faced dog. Come on. Here comes smoosh-faced dog.
To keep us healthy and not getting the flu. So, one is this beautiful stinging nettle plant. Look at that beauty. And then here's a nice guy. Lemon balm. You smell this?
Can people smell this?
Can you smell that?
If you smell it, you dealt it.
Let's see. Oh, thyme. Here's the thyme. And that is really great for respiratory health, and it's nice and antiviral. And yarrow. This is a good one. And it'll have some pretty flowers on it. It's very bitter. Useful if you have a fever. And oh, another great one to have handy is rosemary. Oh, because it smells so good. So you can eat that a lot. You could put it in a bowl of water and do a steam if you wanted to. And it's just, I really love rosemary. Then this is a little baby hawthorn plant. I don't know how long I can grow it in this pot, but I also have a peach tree right here, and it has little flowers on it, as you see.
Oh wow.
Yeah. My neighbor likes to laugh at me because she thinks I collect too many plants.
But she collects a lot of plants
she has
too.
almost more plants than I do. I think she met her match. Oh, and how about the pitcher plant?
Oh yeah.
That's an unusual one. Well, it's just now, it's dormant really, but it's starting to come out of dormancy. You can see, here's a little baby. Can you look inside here? Probably you can't. That's where the bugs go. But there's nobody in there right now. Usually, there's a flower bud. So what happens, here, I'll show them. Flower bud, yeah. Is it still going? I think I might have pressed the button.
No, it's going.
So what happens usually is the plant's dormant, and then this little flower bud comes up, and it grows up and up and up, and about beginning of May, it'll have this like UFO looking, like a flying saucer looking flower that is out of this world. And not until it does the flower thing, attracts pollinators to its flowers, does it then put out its new pitchers. You can see them forming right next to the flower bud down here, the new pitchers. But they won't really get going until it does its flowers. There's another flower coming. So stay tuned. If we're still here in early May, you can see the flower.
Everything's gonna be totally back to normal by early May. I've heard that. You know. So yeah.
I'm planning to be at a party on the beach.
Yeah. By early May, I'm gonna be at a party licking toilet seats. I mean, you know.
So also, one other thing that is nice is this radicchio, which overwintered. It's like a nice bitter salad green. I think it's tasty. I like bitter things. And here's my compost bin. So I make compost in these blue guys. They're recycling bins. And I finish one up, and then I move to another one, and it's a pretty good system.
Yeah.
And Time Cube really keeps things moving along.
He helps. Pigeons make droppings, you know.
So yeah, that's about it.
Let's check on them so we can say hi to the animals. Oh, we'll do a special goodbye, okay? Okay, everybody. Well, thank you for watching my vlog this week. There was a lot of stuff I didn't get to that I wanted to, but I think it's going to be a pretty long one, so we're going to just say our goodbyes. So, say goodbye, Raggedy Blueberry. Goodbye, everybody. See you next week. And say goodbye, Kitty Menu. Say goodbye, everybody. Say goodbye, Time Cube. Say goodbye, Time Cube. I love you. Okay, until next week, I wish you all health, sanity, beauty, and that you continue to walk in and with sanity, health, and beauty. Goodbye. Goodbye.